I'm going to be reviewing a deck by aj47hero. I'm not sure what he calls this deck, but it's a little bit all over the place. He's got 9 different lines of Pokemon in it, but I think if we cut that down to a critical 3 or 4, it can improve the consistency of the deck and make it run a lot better. So let's take a closer look.
While there's several different lines of Pokemon, I can understand why he put each and every one in here. Donphan is a great counter to several of the big decks out here. Magnezone Prime is an excellent draw engine. Feraligatr Prime is excellent for attaching as many energies as you can in one turn. Roserade and Qwilfish can inflict special conditions upon your opponent. Stantler, Manaphy, and Mantine help you get set up by shuffling your hand and searching for Pokemon. And Rotom is an excellent sniper. So while everything in here has a purpose, I think it's got too many purposes. Now this almost seems like it's trying to be like a toolbox type of deck, but I don't think it's streamlined enough to be able to work well together. So let's take a look at some of the cards and see if we can't break this down a little bit. So first off, you got quite a few starter Pokemon going on. Stantler, Manaphy, and Mantine. I would definitely recommend keeping the Manaphy. Just one Manaphy to shuffle your hand in and draw 5. I might also recommend you adding a Tyrogue to that in case you need to donk an early Clefo or any other babies. But again, when you add a Tyrogue, you're running the risk of getting donked yourself, so you might want to, if you're afraid of getting donked, you might want to avoid this path, but just understand that you're not going to get the donk either. Your other starter Pokemon, Stantler and Mantine. Stantler allows you to search for 2 basic Pokemon and put them on your bench. Mantine's Group Swim allows you to search for a water Pokemon and put it into your hand. While both of these are excellent starter cards, I think they just slow the deck down. You're essentially using attacks to stall for a little while you get set up, and I think your Manaphy would be much better used to start setting up rather than either of these two. So I would recommend dropping the 4 Mantine and the 1 Stantler from the deck completely, but keeping the 1 Manaphy. The Qwilfish in the deck can inflict special conditions, but I think it'd be better if we stick to one card that can inflict special conditions, and this one can do it without using an attack. Roserade's Energy Signal can either poison or confuse your opponent, depending on what type of energy you attach. If we add Rainbow Energy to this deck, which currently you don't have any in, but if we add that in, that means it can poison and confuse your opponent at the same time. This is an excellent pair with Leafeon, which does 50 times the number of special conditions on the defending Pokemon. So I would recommend increasing your line of Roserade to a 2-2 at least, and throwing in a 2-2 Leafeon as well as 4 Rainbow Energies, so you can start affecting your opponent with some special conditions and then hitting them hard with it. I would recommend dropping the Feraligatr Prime because I think the thing you might have overlooked is Rain Dance only allows you to attach as many water energy to water Pokemon. You don't run any other water Pokemon in here except for Mantine, which is really only useful as a starter, and Manaphy, and I'm honestly not sure what its second attack is, but I don't think it's very powerful. Qwilfish is a water Pokemon, but again, it's a very low energy requirement. And Feraligatr, it's not meant to be a big attacker. It's a backup attacker, but it's not meant to be a main attacker. So I would actually recommend dropping the entire Feraligatr Prime line. But I do like the fact that you have Magnezone Prime in here. Magnezone Prime, if for no other reason, is an excellent draw engine, and I think if you can use your Manaphy to help get the Magnezone set up, that can help you get the rest of your Pokemon set up as well. Lost Burn can also be critical in trying to take out some of your really big hitters that maybe Leafeon just can't take out, or if you don't have the Rainbow Energy to inflict the special conditions, you can always use Magnezone as a backup attacker. So I know Magnezone is probably not something that's going to be a very popular choice in a Roserade Leafeon deck, but I think it's something that could potentially work. The 1-1 Donphan is another interesting choice. I definitely understand why you have it in here. It's fighting. It's a very fast fighting type Pokemon and can deal a lot of damage to a lot of different decks right now. Magnezone obviously being one of the bigger ones, but at the same time I just don't know if it really flows with this. Magnezone in this deck is a stretch by itself, and I just don't know if the Donphan's just overdoing it. If you do decide to keep the Donphan in, I would certainly just keep that at a 1-1 line. I wouldn't go any higher. At first I considered suggesting dropping the Rotom, but I do like Mischievous Trick, which lets you swap your prizes out. You can't look at them, but you can still swap them out, and this could be critical if you have something prized. If you have the Alpha Lithograph, this becomes even more useful. I also like its attack Plasma Arrow, which allows you to do 20 damage for each energy attached to the Pokemon, and can be any of your opponent's Pokemon. So therefore, this is essentially the only sniper in your deck. It only requires 1 electric energy, and since you're running electric energy anyways for the Magnezone Prime, it's not something that's going to take up a lot of deck space, and yeah, and it's actually something that's not weak to fighting either. So if you're able to get a defender or anything on it, it can actually withstand Donphan's Earthquake. So yeah, I do like the 1 Rotom. I probably wouldn't increase that anymore just because it may be just a helpful late game sniper in case you're running away to the bench and just taking the last few prizes that you need. So essentially, I would recommend streamlining this deck down to a Roserade Leafeon deck with a Magnezone Prime in there for a draw engine. You have a 2-2-2 line of Magnezone Prime. You could probably go to a 2-1-2 because you run Rare Candy, and just sticking with 1 Rotom and the Manaphy as the rest of your Pokemon. I think that'll be a little more consistent and might work a little bit better for you. Let's go ahead and look at your energy line. The biggest thing I noticed is that you have 5 colorless. I'm assuming that you meant double colorless when you type that out. You are limited to only 4 of a special energy per deck, so you're going to have to drop that colorless down to 4. However, I don't think you need double colorless energy in here at all. None of your attackers need more than 2 energy. Even Magnezone Prime's Lost Burn says energy cards, not just energy. So what I would recommend for your energy line is 4 rainbow energies to utilize Roserade's Pokepower. Warp energy is illegal. That's been rotated out, so you're going to have to drop that. Since we're dropping the Feraligatr Prime, we can drop all the water energy. I maybe increase your electric line to 5 or so. 4 is not a bad number, but 5 might make it a little more consistent. Definitely increase your grass line to 4 or 5, considering you're going to be running Leafeon. And then I'd also include at least 3 fighting energy for Donphan. So let's take a look at your trainers and supporters. It looks like you're doing okay. You run 3 collector and no dual ball, I believe. So I think 3 collectors, a pretty good foundation. I like to see a combination, either 3 collector or a combination of 2 collector and 1 dual ball, whatever you think works faster. You have 1 judge. With Magnezone Prime in your deck, you can easily judge your opponent and then use Magnetic Draw to increase your hand size. So I'll probably increase your line of judge to 2. You have 1 Copycat in the deck, but since you don't run Yanmega or anything like that, I think your 1 Copycat would better be substituted for an additional Professor Oak's New Theory. Oak is just much more consistent, and you're going to be running up against a lot of Yanmega decks, most likely, so you don't want to help your opponent out by evening up the hand size for them. So I'd recommend dropping the Copycat and increasing your Pont line. You can also throw in 1 Juniper, but again, that can be a risky move. If you don't know exactly when to use it, you could be discarding quite a few essential things. You run 1 Elm. I'm not a huge fan of Elm, but as we see more Vileplume decks, I think this is going to be more important. So I think Elm could be a safe addition. You run the 1 Flower Shop to get Pokemon and energy back from the discard pile. I think that's perfect. I would also recommend throwing in 1 Twins, just in case you're behind on prizes. You run 1 Switch and 1 Rare Candy. I think that's perfect. You only have 1 Stage 2 line, so you only need 1 Rare Candy. You run a couple of Communication, which I think is great. I do, however, would recommend that you throw in a few Junk Arm, 2 or 3, in case you want to reuse your Communication, Rare Candy, Switch, any of your trainers. I might also recommend that you throw in a couple Pokemon reversals, just in case there's something on the bench that you want to bring up. You can't always rely on that Rotom to be able to snipe things off, especially if they don't have any energy attached. Other than that, though, let's see, you do run Energy Returner. I'm not a big fan of energy returner, and you shouldn't be burning through too much energy in this deck, so I think you can just drop the energy returner completely, and that'll help make some room for some of the other trainers and supporters that I've suggested. And of course, we dropped quite a few lines of Pokemon, and that'll make a lot more room for those additional trainers and supporters as well. So I hope you like the suggestions, and I hope this kind of streamlines your deck a little more and makes it a little easier and more consistent. And that's about it. So thank you for watching, and if you'd like your deck reviewed, just submit it to via PM, and I'll get to it as soon as possible. Thanks for watching.